Hello everyone and welcome to Unicorn Light Tarot. Sincerely hope everybody is doing amazingly well. If this is, regardless of whether this is the first time you are clicking onto one of these videos or whether you are returning, welcome everyone. Very quick announcement. The Unicorn Light podcast has a brand new episode that's live. Episode 6. It is reworking the narrative of the ego and dark goddess worship. Hecate, however you say her name, it's all correct. And Medusa will be popping in, literally. We will be talking and discussing about these beautiful dark goddesses and how to integrate them into your magical life and thinking. And of course, there's some other beautiful ways to integrate more magic into your life, more support, more beauty. So if you are interested in that episode or any other of the episodes, then the links will be down below. Like we said, episode 6 is live. So let's get right into your reading. Which crystal ball has a message for you? As you can see, these aren't crystal balls. However, we do have these fun little doobies here, and we are finding out today things that were left unsaid, what they want you to know. So we're leaving that completely up to spirit. Who comes in, what needs to be said. We're just going to go into the piles as we always have, pile 1, 2, and 3, and just see what happens, right? So on pile 1, we have this beautiful badger. I think is that a badger? I'm not entirely sure. Raccoon, probably. Raccoon on pile 1. Let's just say raccoon. And then on pile 2, we have a beautiful reindeer. Now, these are timeless readings, but of course, that is perfect timing for this time of year. But regardless of when you click onto this video, it shall be irrelevant. And then we have a beautiful otter here on pile 3. So again, which crystal ball has a message for you? Things that were left unsaid. What do they want you to know? So let's go ahead and find out. We're going to put these aside. This is pile 2 and pile 3. So if you chose pile 1 and our beautiful raccoon with a little gift here, then these are your messages. Things that were left unsaid. What do they want you to know? We're going to start off, and of course we have our beautiful magic candle here. We get it on camera so you can see for a little extra help and support. And we're going to start off with our oracles and then move right into tarot. So let's get you some messages. So you've got worthiness. All right, let's get that into focus. You know what? Let's put them up there. Grace. I graciously accept the infinite love of the universe. Okay. Master Jesus, forgiveness. You are on the path of light, love, forgiveness. Father, healing is possible at this time. I was already picking up that energy. All right. And then breath. You've got forest. So this seems pretty clear, pile 1, that now there's 2 different ways to see this. For the most part, these are general readings, so please take what resonates, especially with a reading like this, and leave what doesn't. But there's 2 different ways to seeing this. Let's move this back a little bit so we can get all of this on camera. Regardless, this person isn't necessarily, this person is not in your life. I want to move this back a little bit too. This person is not really in your life. It feels as though this person is passed over. It feels as though they're talking from a different veil. So they're in and around you, but they're not physically in and around you. That's the first thing that I get. Now, the other thing is that the energy of them or that's around them has faded out. So they could still be alive, but you're not in and around their energy. But for most of you, for this general reading, it is someone who has passed on. Now, it doesn't have to be a father. It could be a father figure. But this is somebody that you wanted to rely upon and weren't able to necessarily do this in real life. Now, this is definitely an energy of things that were left unsaid, wanted to sort of rectify the relationship before this person passed over. And it's a father type situation. And, you know, they're asking for forgiveness And they're also asking for you to have some forgiveness for them, but really for yourself. And also they're asking for this element of grace, and they're not asking for them. See, your worthiness when they were alive was very much linked to an essence of your relationship, and it wasn't fully developed. It never got to be fully developed. There was something that was sort of rather stunted. And when this person moved on, they were able to sort of ascertain what was going on and have a much more objective view of what was going on. And there was some regret on their side. But they were not able to tell you this in real life. Now, they may have felt this in real life before they passed on, but they also felt as though it wouldn't have been the right time to bring it up. It feels as though for some of them, it wasn't necessarily a sudden death. They were in and around you. And again, they may not have, even when they were alive, they may not have been very active in your life. There is definitely some sadness from their side. I mean, they even passed over. They're not necessarily sad, but there was sadness on their side before they passed over. And what they wanted to tell you was that you are worthy. You are worthy of what it is that you seek. And the reason why it is important that they're reaching out now and that you need to know is because there is an element of you that this sort of projection or this understanding that you picked up, and probably from childhood, if this is a father figure, or an actual father, probably from childhood, that you were not enough. And hang on a second. And they want you to know that that wasn't you. That wasn't you. That was the way that they felt. They always felt that, and they projected that onto you. Now, they may not have realized that that's what they were doing, but when they passed over and they were on the other side, they did realize that. So some of your worthiness, your sense of worthiness, is linked very much to this understanding, this relationship that didn't really get to blossom. It was almost like it was sort of doomed from the beginning, because this person didn't know at all how to sort of be a father. They just didn't know, or the father figure. It could have been a stepfather. And when they're asking for forgiveness, but actually, there might have been even an essence of like selfishness from them when they were alive. But even when they're asking for forgiveness from you, they're not asking for them. They're asking because you may be still holding on to some kind of resentment, or again, at the very least, a little bit of this understanding that you're not worthy based on this relationship. And they want you to let that go, because it's absolutely and completely not true. So, and the grace that they're asking for, again, is not for them. It feels as though for many of you who have clicked onto Pile 1, you are at a critical point where you are ready to take off in a direction that you haven't before, and go further than you ever have before. And they want you to breathe easy. They want to make sure that every part of you is moving forward and not looking over your shoulder. And again, they want you to be very clear that they did the best. They're acknowledging that they did the best they could, but in the same sentence or in the same energy, they're also acknowledging that their best was also quite bad, and they could have done more. It's just sort of this weird sort of space. And the grace that they're asking for is they're asking for you to give the grace to yourself, and if there's any forgiveness. So for some of you, it feels as though you feel as though maybe you could have done more. And they're saying, no, not at all. You couldn't have. Let's see what you have. Yeah, you have the 7 of Cups. So, and you have everything is fine here. That's with grace. And then you have the High Priestess. Something is coming in for you, and the King of Wands. Absolutely. So, they want you to be clear that they're not saying that the relationship or the lack of relationship that you had with them ever held you back. Not really. Everything that you needed to go through, to come out on the other side and gather those pearls of wisdom. And the person that you are right now is absolutely incredible, and they're very proud of you. And you could not be this person had you have gone through, unless you had gone through everything you'd gone through. However, there is an element of you where, pie in the sky, you wanted big things for yourself, a certain amount of success, and you wanted to sort of move much further than either one of your parents had done in this lifetime. And there was sort of a loftiness to you a little bit, and that's the way that they treated you, that that you were seeing things pie in the sky and they never really took it very seriously. And unfortunately for a lot of you, you felt that and you integrated that energy, and even though deep down you knew you could accomplish whatever it is that you wanted to accomplish, when you didn't really necessarily see it on the external, you did start to doubt yourself. And that's when, things started piling up a little bit, and the doubt sort of set in. And then you can go into these dark modes of like, maybe they're right, and you never really necessarily believed that they were right, that you couldn't become what you wanted. And they never really said that this person never really said that you couldn't become what you wanted. It's just that their version of reality was so incredibly limited, and they had to do that in order to sort of keep themselves safe, that you coming along, the sort of pie in the sky, just didn't really work. They couldn't really handle that energy. So they want to make sure that you understand that you are extremely powerful. And this is coming back to something that you already know. Because everything that you had to learn about yourself, you had to learn in spite of them. They weren't really there. It didn't feel as though this person had a lot of support in and around you. There wasn't a lot of respect in that relationship. And it felt like without respect, there isn't that much left, really. There's so many other things that, that you can build relationships on. But once the respect is gone, it just kind of fell apart. If there was anything that was ever there to begin with, it didn't feel as though there was a very firm foundation to really build on. And some of you may have sort of left home earlier, or sort of moved away. You sort of got yourself out of that situation to protect yourself. So you may not have been in and around the vicinity of this person. You may have decided to come away because there was some toxicity there. But there was an element that they wanted you to know, and they never really told you, which is kind of funny in a way. But, they did see that strength in you, and they did see that beauty in you, and they did believe that you could go further than any, that they could have in their lifetime, because you had that sort of magnetic energy that they didn't have, and you had that way of thinking that they never had, and you had that sort of magnetism that they never had, and they just didn't know how to deal with it, honestly. And you also had the drive that they never had. So I think for some of them, for some of the messages, they were sorry that they didn't tell you that when they were alive. But in some ways, that's kind of a good thing. If we're gonna bring the greater elements of this, because you really did learn to rely on yourself. And give us a moment here, because parents are supposed to be there, so it's this tough love, this survivor thing. That can be tough when we value survivors so much, when really we should be valuing vulnerability and support and all of that. I totally understand that, but at the same time, there were parts of you that needed to be developed in this way. So, and they're certainly not stepping up and saying, so, I did a really crap job, but I did the best I could, and really at the end of the day, you were better for it anyway. That's something that they would have said when they were alive. They're not saying that. They are acknowledging that they didn't tell you how capable you were when they were alive, but also at the same time, they're acknowledging how much you've done sort of without them. And, there's a part of them that genuinely believes that if they were more involved, based on how much they would have been able to give you, and they wouldn't have been able to give you much more, right? They've only had these realizations since they've moved on, that they wouldn't have been able to help you anyway. So, you know, when you're looking back, this is your past. If we want to get really specific about stuff, this is your past. And this is really your present. It's not your future. So yeah, I mean, that hindsight that you had of knowing who you were and what you could achieve, they're acknowledging that that's happening. It's happening for you now. And as we said at the beginning of this reading, there is a critical aspect to this reading because you are on the verge of something pretty amazing and pretty big. And if you keep that grace for yourself and that forgiveness for yourself, now this may be coming up for you a little bit, this sort of father figure thing, or even feeling them around you. And maybe for some of you, you've even had dreams where they've reached out to you. Some of you may have received an element or the energy of this message from them before, from another reader or something like this. So if you have, then this is just letting you know that that reader, wherever you got that message from, it's absolutely 2 thumbs up. They were absolutely correct. If this is the first time that you're hearing this message, excuse me, then they want you to know exactly what we just told you. So incredibly proud of you. And you know, this message is coming up again for you now because you are moving forward in such an incredible way. And they're saying you're worthy of it. You worked hard. Yeah, absolutely. Knight of Pentacles and here 5 of Swords. No need to fight. No need to look back. No need to even be angry. Some of you might still be holding a tad of resentment. And while they're acknowledging that's perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable, they're asking. Some of them are even begging, right? Some of them are even begging you to release it. Again, not for them, but for you. Forgive. If you want, just forgive you. There's a forgiveness for some of you that needs to be done. And it's going to allow for some healing for you to move forward in this incredible way. Whatever it is that you've got coming in, it's going to be really exciting. And it's something that you've wanted. And it's going to be coming in sort of quite quickly. And they want you to be free completely from the past. To be able to enjoy every aspect of it. They don't want you looking over your shoulder and ever doubting yourself. You know, because there's absolutely no need for you to do that. And you have this incredible power. And you wield it incredibly well, you know. So, let's see. Are there any last messages for you? This one's calling to me. Oh, this one. Okay, these two just, I mean, they popped out, right? Childhood, innocence, and new promise. Yeah, absolutely. This is a father figure, or probably a father, somebody who has passed on. This is somebody coming in, childhood, innocence, and saying a new promise. They're going to be there for you now. And it's kind of fun, actually, because there is this sort of, even though they're on the other side, there is this sort of really strong image of them clapping you and saying, let's put that on camera for you. Well done. Well done. Incredibly proud of you. And the new promise is that, you know, some of you have been wondering. So if this is some way that we can help you to clarify. If some of you have been wondering, you've been sensing some ups and downs and moving forward, but you've been wondering if this new beginning really can be a new beginning, because you've been feeling as though you're moving into a new vibration and everything's going to be brand new. But you felt kind of like that before, and then things can kind of fall flat a little bit. You're wondering if this is the real deal. Like as you're moving forward and you're feeling this energy coming in, if this really is a brand new beginning for you, like a new chapter, really. And they're acknowledging that it is. And it's a very successful chapter for you in your life. Something that you've never seen before. You're not going to go back to the old way. This is a brand new level of existence for you, which is why they're coming in to let you know all of this. So you can just have this freedom to enjoy it. So hopefully that resonated with you. That was pretty specific. We are sending so much love to you and so much support for exactly who you are and where you are in the world. Go be you. If you have not subscribed yet to Unicorn Light Tarot, we would love to have you. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss a video reading. We do this twice a week. And of course, we have the Unicorn podcast, Light Podcast. Everything is down below for you to click on that. Another free resource. And of course, hit that like button. That is wonderful. So until we meet again, Pawan, Take care. Bye-bye. Hello, pile twos. If you chose this very festive reindeer, although if you are watching this outside of the Christmas feeling, then this is still a timeless reading regardless. And of course we have your magic candle. So which crystal ball has a message for you? We're looking into some elements of mystery for you. Things that were left unsaid, what they want you to know. What they want you to know now. We're going to start off with Oracle, move on to Tarot. Let's get right into your reading. So we've got Chivalry here is the first card. And then we have Compassion. The vibration of compassion shines through my every cell. And then we have Life Force. Express your driving passion. Sensual and sexual powers are increased. And then we have Perspective. So this is a love interest. Now this is a love interest for some of you. Again, these are such interesting readings because they're general readings. So it's really important for you to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. For any reason, reading, but particularly for a reading like this, because there's just so much going on. But it does feel as though that this is a love interest. This is somebody that was in your life. Now, for some of you, it could be a love interest that's actually passed on. But it does feel as though for most of you, this is a love interest that is still in the earthly realm, but you guys are no longer together. Now, this isn't necessarily a love interest that's ever going to come back into your life. But this is somebody who did not feel worthy of you. And this is somebody that had a lot of compassion for your compassion. And even though they never thought that you guys were going to work out one way or another, they wanted to thank you for the compassion that you gave them. Now, this person is probably somebody that when you look back on your life, you probably will be like, all right, I know who that person is. Now, you would never go back to them. And actually, your relationship when you were together was probably quite dysfunctional. And it was equally dysfunctional. It was almost like both of you sort of met in dysfunction, in the way of dysfunction, and just met completely in the middle. But there was a vulnerability between both of you, and both of your dysfunctions sort of came together. And you did feel quite deeply to this person. There was quite an intense sort of bond and attraction. We would say a sort of a soul contract. But because of the dysfunction, there was no way that you would ever be able to make it work. But, even if you were around people or you had other affairs that were sort of dysfunctional, we've all been there, right? There was something about this one when you look back on them. There was much more of a bond there. So this person is certainly not saying anything like, we were destined and I let you go or anything. It's nothing dramatic like that. But when you do think back on them, you do think about them every now and again. You wonder if they're okay. And there's a part of you that wonders if your connection ever made a difference in their life, because you wanted them to be not necessarily a better person, but you just wanted them to be better. Your heart really went out to them. And there's a part of you that when you look back, you want them to be okay. You want them to be happy. And you do wonder if your connection kind of made a difference in some way, if there was any kind of catalyst. And it's not coming from the ego, like you'll never have anybody better than me or anything like that. But you just wonder, because they did that for you in a way. And the relationship got a little bit muddled because there was so much dysfunction on both sides. So a lot of the dysfunction really, it weighed so heavily down onto your circumstances, your sort of love affair. And it took front and center. It was primary. If you guys didn't have that dysfunction, you guys probably would have been okay. But I mean, that's ridiculous. That's almost like saying, if you guys had $1 million, you would have been able to, you wouldn't have got divorced over money. I mean, it's that doesn't really matter, but they want you to know that's an energy. And this person is still living for most of you. Now, this is a person that you may have loved and lost, and some of them may have passed over. But for the most part, this is a person that you've already had the affair about, and every now and again you think about. Again, this is not a person that's going to be in your life. Don't expect them to get in touch or anything like that. There is a chance if you ever go back, for a lot of you, you're not even in and around this person. Like you're not even in the same city. But, you know, there is a chance, there's always a chance that you might meet by chance. But it doesn't feel as though this person is necessarily easy to contact either. Because you're not in and around the same group of friends, or maybe they're not on, you know, social media or something like that. This person would not be easy to check up on, which is why the energy of them is coming up right now. But they want you to know that the relationship that you guys had, and they're acknowledging that there was a lot of dysfunction, and they're acknowledging that a lot of the dysfunction came from them. Although you did meet halfway, you had a lot of dysfunction going in too. It was like, but you had a soul contract coming in, and there was an activation when you guys met. And it activated this really intense sort of bond, but at the same time, it activated both your dysfunctions. And then you weren't able to sort of get over that. Sort of addictions even for some of you. And both of you were incredible people, but you were not in an emotional, neither one of you was emotionally available. It's seemingly they were less emotionally available and you were more emotionally available. But actually at the end of the day, you appeared more emotionally available, but you really weren't in many ways. You were stoic in many ways. You were protecting your own energy in many ways. It's just compared to them, it seemed as though you were a little bit more open than them. But actually, you were both extremely alike, maybe in completely different formats, but you were a lot more alike than you were not alike, right? But this person was quirky. This person was fun. Dysfunctional, yes, this person probably had addictions, but you had some fun, you know, it's sort of this Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing, but we all know that ended up, you know, I mean, I'm not laughing at that, it's awful, but just this idea that you can have so much fun, but at the same time, there's so much dysfunction. Again, a lot of us have been there, but it did click something within you, and both of you were sort of clicked into this sort of life force, this energy, and this kind of beauty. But they do want you to know, the main message is that they want you to know that you did change their life. You did shift their life. It's not really a reaching out to say, I'm sorry, I wish I could have done better. If anything, it's an acknowledging of where that person was at that particular time in their life and taking full responsibility for it. At the time, it feels as though the dysfunction was both yours and theirs, but it feels as though they were not taking responsibility for the energy and you were taking a little bit more responsibility for your energy. But at the end of the day, not enough to kind of make it happen. And even if you were taking full responsibility for your energy, they weren't, so it wouldn't have mattered. And honestly, if you were taking full responsibility for your energy, you would not have ended up with this person for however long it was. So for some of you, it's a shorter affair that you had, but a very, very intense one. And you may have gone backwards and forwards with, you know, on off a couple of times, because the energy of you guys would have been pretty intense. So you would have, you know, and you would have known, you both would have known that you know, this has to fizzle out. Let's do this. Let's just stop this. But then you wouldn't be able to stop. And even though you may have been the one to reach out to say, you know, let's meet for a drink, let's whatever. I mean, they were the first ones there too. So, I mean, you were both sort of, you were partners in crime is the best way. I mean, the Bonnie and Clyde thing keeps coming up, but like you guys were definitely partners in crime. And there was something very exciting about that. And because the dysfunctionality was there, it just gave that a little bit more excitement. And because you guys, I think deep down you knew that, you know, and sometimes people come together and there is dysfunction on both sides, but, you know, you're sort of vulnerable enough you can work through them and get out on the other side. That happens all the time. But there was an instinct where you guys knew that the bond was going to be short-lived. Neither one of you was expecting this to last any longer. Neither one of you was going to invest too much into this. They're not going. Neither one of you was going to invest your heart, time, and energy, sure, but you knew that you were. Neither one of you was at that point where you were at a catalyst stage that you would have changed for the other. It was not going to happen. So you really acknowledge that, you know, sort of on a peripheral level, but also on a subconscious level, and just kind of went for it and enjoyed the affair. So it became very sort of dramatic and interesting, and it was driven by this dysfunction. but that's exactly what you're supposed to do sometimes, to have some fun. It was definitely fun, right? But there was a loyalty to them too. There was this sort of beautiful loyalty, and they were extremely attracted to you in that way. So you've got the Three of Wands. Yeah, you may have met through friends. Three of Pentacles. They couldn't really... You've got the Six of Pentacles and you've got the High Priestess. Yeah, they definitely put you on a pedestal. They absolutely believed that you were incredible, and that was part of it too. They didn't really think at the end of the day that they would actually end up with you, and you knew that you weren't going to end up with them, whether you acknowledged that or not. And that again fueled this kind of relationship moving forward. And you may have met by friends, or sort of a sudden went to a party, didn't expect to meet anybody. I've got a paper due, I've got this, that, and the other, not the furthest thing from your mind, and then they were there. It seems as though that they pursued you. And you were just sort of up for it to see what was going to go on. You weren't really sort of invested at the beginning. You just wanted to kind of see what was going on, where this would go. And it escalated pretty quickly. But I feel as though, their friends would have probably been quite happy for them, because they acknowledged that you were, you were incredible, and you were going in, and, and that they had sort of high hopes. But at the end of the day, they didn't think that it was going to work out because of that person. But really, at the end of the day, it's just that, and this is just a little bit of real talk, pal, too. You hid your dysfunction a lot more than they did. So the money was on him or this person. It's, for the most part, for most of you, it's a him. But not necessarily. It's masculine energy. For the most part, it's a him, and this is a reading to a her. But that isn't necessarily gender specific. But this person has a masculine energy, but at the same time, they're sort of... they have a femininity to them too. They may have hidden that a little bit, but they have a femininity to them too. But, it was their friends that was really excited to have you there, thinking that, oh, this is a great person. Maybe they'll buckle up and this, that, and the other. Not realizing that you're just as dysfunctional as him. We're just going to call him him. Just as dysfunctional as him, but you were just hiding it more. But also this was a very, very interesting relationship for you too, because even though it was a heightened relationship, and there was only a certain amount there was an incredible amount of intimacy, but at the same time there was very little intimacy. There's a lot of intimacy, but very little vulnerability, because neither one of you was ready to be that vulnerable with anybody, right? But this was kind of a relationship that cracked both of you open separately for the vulnerability stakes, right? And you weren't necessarily vulnerable when you were with each other, and you definitely didn't work on that while you were with each other, but that vulnerability sort of got cracked open after you guys stopped seeing each other. And there was sort of a significant amount of growth that needed to happen separately. So you guys came into each other's lives to be a catalyst, and it was very fiery and wild. And you may have even argued with them, or just had this very fiery relationship. It's very sort of like Italian, like throwing plates or something, not abuse or anything like that. I mean, you were both giving it to each other, but it was just... And you may have had this, again, this fun sort of time, but it wasn't really rooted in any kind of reality. But that you guys became sort of a catalyst for each other. So they want you to know, but you do think about them every now and again, not all the time. They're definitely not on your mind. And again, they're not going to come back into your life. But they do want you to know that they did regard you very highly. They put you on a pedestal, actually, and that could have impeded your relationship just a little bit, because they realized that you weren't going to stay with, and you weren't. You're not going to do that. So they weren't going to open their hearts to that. They weren't open enough to do that. But they want you to know that you were a catalyst. And they were better for knowing you, that they are better now. And that there was a significant amount of risk that they took with you, whether you realized it or not, or whether it showed or not. Even the smallest effort that they made was still huge for them. And that was a really big, huge thing for them, to build that foundation to move forward. And they wouldn't have been able to move forward in the way that they did unless you guys have met. So for you... it feels as though, and it's no disrespect to this other person that's bringing in this energy and this message, but it feels as though even that when you look back on it, you think, oh my goodness, I was so messed up. I hope that person's okay. I want the best for them. They were a sweet person, this, that, and the other, when you take away the dysfunction. But there's not much beyond that. You just, it's more of an afterthought. And for most of you, this person's come up a little bit more than they have before. But this person does regard you a little bit more highly necessarily than you think of them. Although they do acknowledge that there was a lot of dysfunction on both sides. They're not looking at you as if, you have no flaws. But they definitely hold you in a higher regard than you would them. Because it feels as though the growth that they had with you is a little bit more, and they just want you to know there's a thanks, there's a shift in perspective because of the way that they were with you, and it did significantly change things for them. And it may not be really obvious how it changed, but again, there was a sort of a catalyst movement, and after you guys ceased to see each other, it might have been slow, incremental sort of healing, but they did get on a path and make themselves a little bit better. At the very least, they wanted to be a better person. Now, they may not have sat there and gone, I want to be a better person because of you, because of this person, or this, that, and the other. It wasn't like that. This is a lot more subtle. But at the same time, there was this breaking wide open. And also there was this essence, again, this bond that you guys had with the soul contract essence coming in too. It was almost as if, you guys were destined to meet. You had this soul contract. You burnt out that soul contract really quickly, and and then something was completed with both of you with that soul contract, and both of you felt as though you could move on in the world a little bit differently. And that's part of it too. So yeah, they're doing a lot better. They were doing a lot better, but they became stronger because of you. There was a lot more trust because of you. And they just want to say thank you. And also acknowledging, like, putting you on a pedestal, how incredible you were. And it's also one of those things where, if you ever did meet, it would be, it would be a little bit awkward. It'd be a little bit fun. And then, on their side, it would be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I actually got this person for like 3 months or 4 months or however long it was. That's what they would be saying. So, there's a lot of, there's fondness as they look back on that time, because for some of you, this has been, a relationship that was in the past. For some of you, it's a little bit more recent, but this is in the past because there's been time. So, time is non-linear, it's man-made. So, it may have felt as though it's only been a year that you guys aren't together, but so much has happened in that year, so it feels as though it's longer. But for some of you, it really does feel as though this is an older relationship. But again, it's someone that you think of. But this person was dramatic, interesting, quirky, funny. I don't know if they thought they were funny, but they were really funny. They were definitely, and good looking too. You guys made a good looking couple. You would have looked slightly different. You sort of had opposite features, but it worked. But yeah, it's just this, I don't know if they knew they were funny or they were just quirky. They became funny. There was an element of them that was just sort of like, this is who I am, accept me who I am. And there was a sort of a freedom to that. And you were very attracted to that. So this person is just reaching out. That's the energy of this person. Again, this person is probably still living for most of you. And, it's probably somebody that's been on your mind. Not a lot, but it's popped in a couple of times, which is why this person has come in. But yeah, very impressed by you. And, this person would have pursued you and really put you on a pedestal at the beginning. And then maybe would have just kind of gotten lazy about that a little bit, which is why you guys, you were sort of unimpressed because they went out of their way to like pursue me. And then, they got me. And then it was this, and that was just their way. It wasn't anything personal. They didn't want you to think that, now I've got you, I'm not going to pay attention to you. But it's just, they didn't know how to keep up the energy of that. It took so much energy to be themselves. They didn't have a lot of energy to put upon you. They took all their energy that they could to get you. And then that was it. But it was nothing personal that that there wasn't that much, that they were putting you on a pedestal afterwards. Although there was a lot of fire and a lot of energy in different ways, though, so it's not like it wasn't there. And passion too, passion too. So this person's come up and they just want to say, thank you, I'm doing good. Absolutely. This is a situation that I'm thinking about. And they think about you too, every now and again. Again, it would never be in a situation where you want to reach out to each other. One of you feels as though maybe you're the one that's not really on social media. One of you feels as though it's not that easy to get in touch with. And that's perfectly fine. Maybe you're not in touch with their friends anymore, this, that, and the other. And it's not a situation where we're certainly not saying pick up the phone and whatever. Not at all. It's not that kind of situation at all. But definitely a catalyst. Definitely think of you and definitely appreciated the time that you had together. Now that there's been a hell of a lot more space and time, they can definitely see. And there might be an element of them every now and then that, if I was a little bit more healthy, I wonder if we would have stayed together a little bit longer. I think for them on that side, that might come up every now and again, but not in a really serious way. It sounds like whoever's listening to this for the other person is in much healthier situation anyway. So this is worlds away. You guys are completely different now. So this is what we have for you, Pal 2, sending you so much love and support for exactly where you are and who you are in the world. If you have not subscribed, we would love to have you. So go ahead and hit that bell icon so you never miss one of these beautiful readings 2 a week. And of course, hit that like button. And down below, we will have all of the information for you to go on to the podcast if you like to, the Unicorn Light podcast. We have a brand new episode 6. That's very exciting. So lots of fun, free ways for you to get support and beauty in your life. All right, Pal 2, until we meet again, take care. Bye-bye. Okay, beautiful Pal 3s. Last but not least, we have your magic candle here too for a little extra vavoom. And again, we are which crystal ball, looking into the crystal ball, the message for you. And actually this is our otter. So if you chose the otter for Pal 3, these are your messages. Things that were left unsaid, what they want you to know. We're going to start off with your oracle, move on to tarot. Let's get right into your reading. Manifestation is your first card. And then you have success. Success fills my life in ways beyond my greatest expectations. Wonderful. Mother Mary, love and peace. Let go of the need to be right. Choose peace. Mother, healing is possible at this time. Gorgeousness. And then you've got the fog and veiled. So there's a few different energies coming in. It's a mother figure or a grandmother figure, but there's a matriarchal line coming in. For most of you, this is a mother figure that has passed on. Or for some of you, this is just a few of you. And of course, these readings are always general, but these are a little bit different insofar as the subject matter that we're dealing with. This is very, very general. So it's really important for you to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. For some of you, this is very specifically, so this may only be a small amount of you, but this is a mother figure that's not quite passed yet, but is sort of on the verge of, but this is a way for them to reach out to you. They're not really able to speak or something. It's just, that's kind of a strange thing to say, but this is a person that's, for some of you, not quite past yet, but have definitely moved sort of out of the realm of the living, but not quite passed over. For some of you, this is definitely a matriarchal line. There is a mother figure that has passed over. And this is a person that's very much of the matriarchal line because they're standing in front of their own mother. So there's a grandmother element there too. And it's almost like the grandmother is saying to the mother, like, tell them, that sort of thing. And first of all, the first thing that they're saying, and this is from the grandmother too. Now, not all of you will know your grandmother. This is somebody that you never met. They passed before you were born into this lifetime. And some of you do know the grandmother. Some of you do, but not all of you do. But the grandmother is definitely there behind the mother. So there's this really very firm essence of this matriarchal line. Now, this matriarchal line that we're talking about, is a very, very strong line of women, maybe too strong sometimes because they didn't know how to be vulnerable. So in that lifetime, in the lifetime where you had this mother, you might have had quite adversarial kind of relationship a little bit. Now, you're incredibly like your mother, whether you sort of like it or not. And that's what the grandmother's saying. You know, they want you to know that you are incredible. And you would have known that, sort of two peas in a pod at the same time, which is why you probably were like two magnets that didn't really, kind of repelled each other a little bit because you were so like each other. But at the same time, the fundamentals of what you stood for was completely different. So there's this really strong matriarchal line of very, very strong, almost like warrior type women with just a way about them, a good sense of humor, like to laugh, but so extremely strong. They've had to be extremely strong. So the first thing that they're acknowledging that they want you to know is all the work that you've done in this lifetime, and particularly on healing yourself. Whether some of you actively healed yourself in order to be able to heal your bloodline, and you did work with healing your bloodline specifically, and some of you just healed yourself and then you started healing your bloodline. You didn't realize that you were healing your bloodline until things started shifting for you. But they're thanking you for that. They're also saying that you were chosen in this lifetime to sort of represent them in a little way. And all of the ways that some of you really may not really like the idea that you were like your mother, but again, the grandmother energy is coming in and saying, yeah, but those are all the strengths, all the attributes that you have that are incredibly strong. That's going to bring you the success in this world. So don't you dare, without a shadow of a doubt, deny us in any way. And they're laughing about this. They're not being like they're not scolding you in any way. Some of you may have had an inkling of changing your name or honoring your matriarchal name, like your mother's maiden name, matriarchal name in some way, maybe not specifically the mother's maiden name, but in some way, maybe further back, an ancestor further back, but at the same time, have this sort of animosity with your mother, or this energy of animosity, and yet you are linked into that family lineage, and yet you do want to honor that family lineage, and you are doing that directly because of your mother, but at the same time there's still that animosity a little bit. So your grandmother's actually saying, stop that, but again, in this funny way. So there is an element of you that knows your strength, that does want to honor your family line, but there's a little bit of that semblance there, a little bit of that energy of not quite being happy about how things went down. And I think that's why your grandmother is there, because, it's not that your mother doesn't want to step up and say sorry, they do, but at the same time, they're really respecting your space. And your space really does need to be honored, because they never really respected your space, a lot of you, when you were growing up. And at the same time, they gave you so much space because they weren't really there. It felt like they were checked out a little bit. So it's, that's why the grandmother's kind of doing this at the same time. And it's not that your mother doesn't want to, or the mother figure doesn't want to reach out. They do, but they're very much honoring who you are and honoring your process in a way that they did not do when they were alive. And the fact that they're wanting to do this, so they're not all up in your grill right now trying to give you all these messages, is just showing how much they have learned. They're also letting you know that, since they have passed over, they've been on their own journey. They've been figuring things out for themselves. They've been on an incredible new journey of healing and doing all that sort of thing. Not everybody does that when they pass over. Sometimes they keep the same energy and they want to stay where they are. But your mother, and she did that for you. Really, she did that for her children. She was not really able to do that in this lifetime. And again, as you pass over, you can do whatever you want with that information. But your mother decided right away that she was going to do this energy, or this mother figure was going to do this energy. They were going to heal. They were going to do this. And they were very much, when they first passed over, this person was very much around you. You may have found like really huge things kind of fit into place. And, you know, for some of you, for housing or this, that, and the other, like incredible coincidences happened for up to like a year or 18 months. Like they were going out of their way to make sure that you were okay, you know? Sorry, hang on a second. I'm going to... getting a little sick, so I just want to do this reading before I actually do get sick if I do. So there was an element of them, you know, when they were in and around you afterwards, and you could feel that. And you definitely felt as though these huge coincidences that were coming in, and they may have happened in groups of your family, where it happened to, you know, a sister or a brother or this, that, and the other, and you all came together and said, "What? This is crazy. Do you think Mum's doing this?" And then everybody was like, "Yeah, I think so." So they were in and around you, and they have incredible power. They had incredible power when they were living. They just didn't utilize it in the way it's sort of, they used it against themselves and sort of used it against you in a way. But they weren't very open, and there was no vulnerability. There was maybe a lot of drama. And for you, and there may have been a lot of dramatic situations in and around you, and you associated drama with vulnerability and normality, and that's something that you had to figure out for yourself. No, this isn't right. You attracted dramatic partners and dramatic people, and this is something that you had to figure out. But yeah, there may have been a lot of dysfunction and a lot of drama, which you mistook for vulnerability. But there wasn't a lot of vulnerability, and there wasn't a lot of accountability either. So when they passed, the first thing they did is make sure on a very physical level, because, they wanted you to have the physical stuff. They want you to have that physical stuff. So they would have had these coincidences. That's the way that you see them, but they would have moved heaven and earth for you to get what you wanted. And they can do that for you again. It's not that they're gone, but they were very much in and around you for, again, 6 months, 18 months, but around the 2-year period. But up until a year after they passed, like a lot of things fell into place. And it would have been physical things that moved you forward. And for each and every one of you, and again, this may have happened for different family members, it elevated your position a little bit. And it did feel as though there was some outside help, right? For some of them, I keep feeling like somebody's smoking. For some, it could have been your grandmother, or for some of you, they could have been smokers. Not for all of them, but I never get that. But I got this real feeling of like cigarette in my throat, and I don't smoke, so I know that's not me. So some of you are showing that they used to smoke, and if that's the reason why they passed over, I mean, obviously they don't smoke anymore. But and if that's a warning for you, and they're saying, don't smoke. Again, just giving you the messages that I get. Because the cigarettes are coming up, they're asking you to, in your own time. Nobody's like scolding you necessarily, except the grandmother's kind of laughing, going, "Yeah, we are." But if that's the message for you, planning to give up, you wanted to give up, you're doing your best, stick with it, keep doing it. They're proud of your efforts. Or if you've just given up. So you got the Ace of Cups. Yeah, they are there for you. They are absolutely there for you. They want you to know that they're, without a shadow of a doubt, they're there and they're backing you. And again, in Pile 1, we had the claps. They're doing that too. They're incredibly proud of you. And they're incredibly proud of the sense of humor that you've had with everything that you've gone through. Like, you've gone through an incredible amount of ups and downs, and they are absolutely acknowledging that would have broken somebody else. But for some reason, for you, you were just like this Mack truck. No matter what, you got up. You just kept getting up. And that is your grandmother saying, and your mother agreeing too. That is both of them saying, well, that's your heritage. That's us. You may not have, you may not have appreciated some of the other things that we did, which we totally understand. And they don't blame you for that. They're acknowledging everything that didn't happen, that they could have done when they were alive. But, they're also acknowledging that this strength, this incredible strength that you have, that sometimes they feel as though, maybe you feel as though you take for granted, because you feel as though most people would have done this. Most people would have gotten through what you did. And it's simply not true. It's simply not true. It really isn't. The way in which again, the Mack truck, you just get up and you move through these sort of situations and broken and the way that you are now. Like, you have this in common with Powwow, completely different readings though. You are on the precipice of something huge, which is why they're showing up and letting you know that they are there. They are there for you, and they are helping manifest whatever it is that you want. And it feels as though for some of you, a lot of you actually, you've been asking for help, but you've been asking for help for your ancestors. So they're directly coming in and saying, yeah, we got you. We got you. And for some of you, you've been doubting that whatever it is that you want is going to come to fruition. They've got a very specific message for you. Whatever it is that you want is not enough. They're going for gold. So they're going for something much, much bigger. So expect much, much bigger. And the reason why it hasn't manifested yet, because you're taking that as a sign that it won't, or a sign that it's going to take that you need to readjust sort of your mindset of it not coming in. They're saying, no, that's not it. That's not it. The reason why it's taking a little longer than you think it should is because it's coming in bigger and better. They're going for gold here. They're going for something much bigger. That's the reason why they want you to hold that hope. They want you to have that understanding and keep the damn faith. That's what I heard. They're funny. But the Three of Pentacles, absolutely, with this success. So they want you to know that it's because the right people haven't come in yet. For some of you, you are thinking about changing your circumstances, and it's kind of on the peripheral. You've been thinking about it, or you're in the middle of doing that. Once you shift and physically change those circumstances, and there's different ways that, physically with, where you live or the job, there's something that's coming up that's going to present a change. Now, for you, it may have seemed like a very small change, but that small change is going to click in the bigger stuff. So what they're saying is, it's just that you haven't met the right people. The right circumstances are coming in after this change occurs. However, they're setting this up so this change will happen really easily. So don't worry about it. The right people are coming in for you without a shadow of a doubt for this success. You've got this Ace of Pentacles. Look at this. You got a Knight of Cups. There's absolutely, this is absolutely glorious. And they're having a good laugh, they really are. And that's the thing, you want to be kind of mad at them, but they also knew how to have a good time, and they were very fun loving in some ways, but there was also a hell of a lot of dysfunction too. So they want to acknowledge that you have every right to be and think of them the way that you are. It's not coming out of nowhere, you're not making this up. The one thing that's happened with you sometimes is that you get very hard on yourself when you look back in your past and go, because everybody has their own reality. Did I make this up? They want you to know that you didn't. It really did go down like that. It really kind of was that bad. And they really weren't present. And that's absolutely true. And they're absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, acknowledging that and integrating that responsibility at this point in a way that they just could not have and were not able to. And again, this is mainly for your mother, but the grandmother is there. Not all of you have met this grandmother. It could be a great grandmother, but this is sort of the matriarch kind of thing. But this woman is really strong. This woman is very strong and really funny. So yeah, this great success that's coming in, something bigger. They want you to know that they are moving heaven and earth for you the same way that they did before. They also want you to know that they're very proud of the way that you've held out with your emotionality. You have this incredible vulnerability in this way that they never had or never showed. So they're incredibly proud that you are able to really invest in this vulnerability, integrate it into your world in a way that you were not shown. You were not shown how to do that. They can't take any credit for that. They were like, that's all you, kid. You did that. That's incredible. That's a difficult feat for anybody to do, even if they've had examples of brilliant people who have done that. And you didn't. You didn't have that example. You didn't get that from us. And you're able to really work with your emotionality. It's not been easy. They absolutely accept that it's been up and down, and you've had a hell of a time with it, but you did that. You never gave up. And they want to acknowledge, especially with this emotionality, that this is just the beginning for how you can use this gift. And they're really impressed with your strength. It's absolutely incredible what you've done. And also they're ready to shine share some and shine some gifts upon you. You didn't have a very level foundation before, so they didn't want to give you all of this stuff before that's coming in, all of these gifts that they want to shower you with. It's not that they didn't think you deserved it, far from it, but they wanted you to have this incredibly firm foundation for you to really enjoy it, and to be able to work with it, instead of sort of like either piffling it away or not believing that you didn't really deserve it, and then just sort of not, really acknowledging the strength that it brought to bring in this beautiful, all of these beautiful gifts that are coming in. So there wasn't a strong enough sort of grounding on your part for them to bring in all this beautiful stuff. It wouldn't have mattered to you as much. So you've been working on that foundation. That foundation's gotten really, really strong. Now they can bring in all this stuff and they can really layer it up. And you can appreciate it in a new way. And, there is this element of the success coming in, this new, sort of this brand new beginning where you can sort of lay back and enjoy your life a little bit instead of looking over your shoulder and figuring out what you've got to do next. And there's always a little bit of a hustle with you. Again, you never give up, which is incredible. And there's always going to be that energy of moving forward and doing something more and doing something. You're extremely inquisitive. But they want you to get to the point where you can enjoy where you are and just kind of slow down a little bit, and just take in the view of success instead of trying to climb so much. And now this foundation is set, they're able to really pull in the gifts. And some of that is the right people coming in to help you. The right people, whether that's a signing of contracts, whether that's somebody that's seeking you out for what you do. But yeah, they're putting the right people in your way. And also for some of you, that's maybe a message for some of you, not all of you, but it's a very strong message and it's a really fun one. For those of you who have just met your significant other, maybe in the last couple of years or relatively recently, some of you incredibly recently, but they're the one, up until like 5-6 years. So that's pretty recent for them. They want you to know that was all set up too. They knew who this person was. They were putting all of this together too. It's not like they didn't pick them. You guys were destined from past lives together. You decided to come in. There's a soul attachment to you and your significant other. And if this person hasn't come in yet, then they're on that side. So they didn't pick them, but they've definitely they watched this person come into your life. So a lot of you are already sort of attached to this person. They just want you to know that they acknowledge that this person exists. And for some of you, there's something that you've been asking for, but you're not sure if it's too late. You're not sure if you could really have it. And it may be something that wasn't necessarily on the list your entire life. It's not part of the success list. And they want you to know that it is absolutely possible. Relax, have faith. Again, they're on it. So it's this really beautiful message of support and divinity and this incredible sort of strength and beauty, but also really honoring at the same time. Like, again, your mother's giving space. It's the grandmother that's stepping in. That, not everything was well when they were in and around you. And again, they're not trying to make excuses, but they're just saying that they have an immense amount of power on the other side, and they've been using it. They've been wielding it for you. And they're incredibly proud of you in many, many, many different levels. So that's what we have for you, Pal 3. We are sending you so much love and support for exactly where you are and who you are in the world. If you have not subscribed yet, we would love to have you. Definitely 2 of these beautiful readings a week. So hit that bell icon so you never miss one of them. And of course, hit that like button too. And do not forget, we have a brand new episode 6 of the Unicorn Light podcast. All the details, the links are down below. You can go right in there and have some fun listening to that. All right, my darlings, until we meet again, take care. Bye-bye.